Well, isn't that very sweet of Maria to say that? It's lovely to see all of you here this evening. Friends, the most brutal law in the history of WA came into effect in May of 1998. It violated our government's primary obligation to ensure the right to life and liberty for every Western Australian. We proposed a strategy to reverse the law. At each election cycle, we determined to make our highest priority to elect pro-life MPs, more and more pro-life MPs, until there were sufficient numbers to amend or reverse Western Australia's abortion law. For a period of time, it seemed like we were moving in the right direction. But sadly, the last election obliterated the gains of the past 2 decades. Labor, as you know, won by a landslide and now governs with an absolute majority in both houses of Parliament. The vast majority of Labor MPs, with very few exceptions, are committed to abortion on demand. And the Liberal Party, which previously contained the highest number of pro-life MPs, has been reduced to a mere shadow of its former self. Thus, there are now fewer pro-life MPs across all parties than at any time in the past 23 years. Now, that does not mean that we should give up fighting for justice for the unborn. We should continue to do that. But it does mean, dear friends, that we need to enlarge our approach. The truth is that it's extremely unlikely that Labor will give pro-lifers a crumb in this term of government. It is likely that Labor, on the other hand, will enact laws that will stifle and punish some people who would offer help, as evidenced by the legislation that's coming before the Parliament right now. Well, friends, in view of all this, how do we respond? The truth is that our unjust laws will not change until our culture changes. And our culture will not change unless we bring about that change. Unless we as Christian people recommit ourselves to the task before us. In order to effect change, we must, one, I'm going to give you a number of points here. One, we must pray earnestly. This is a battle that we will not win without Almighty God's help. And I urge you to make the killing of innocent children in our state a matter of daily prayer. I encourage you to pray for the Premier, the Honorable Mark McGowan. I have observed that he loves his wife and children, and I would like to think that if he had to, he would lay down his life for them. Pray that he and pray that his party will come to value other mothers' children as they value their own. Also, friends, pray for pro-life MPs that they might not become discouraged, but faithfully and valiantly continue to stand for life. But also pray for MPs who support abortion, that God might soften their hearts, for unless God does, there is little hope of change. And pray that God might soften the hearts of the people in this state and give them the courage to stand in defense of the unborn. Secondly, become a pro-life advocate. In order to change our culture, each one of us must commit ourselves to talking to our family, to our friends, to our colleagues, to our workmates about the reality of abortion, which we've heard about this evening. I remember that when I was a young man, I talked with a male colleague who believed that abortion was a woman's right. After I talked to him, I gave him a book written by Dr. John Wilkie on the topic of abortion. He read it overnight, and his position flipped 180 degrees. We must speak to others in order to change our culture. Thirdly, encourage our pastors and priests to address this issue, the greatest moral issue of our time. This is essential. We need courageous Christian leaders. Friends, fourthly, if some pastors and priests refuse to address this matter, then work from the bottom up in your churches. Top to bottom, or bottom to top, we can win our churches over if we will become faithful advocates for the unborn. Fifthly, promote Christian morality, i.e., sexual abstinence prior to marriage and fidelity within marriage. This, friends, is the answer to the problem. This is the surest way to experience a life filled with happiness and security, and to be a wonderful example to others. Sixthly, decide right now that you will never encourage anyone to resort to abortion under any circumstances, whether it's a partner, a child of yours, or a family member, or somebody else. If you make up your mind right now, you will do the right thing when the pressure comes. Seventhly, support pregnancy support agencies that are providing help to pregnant women. These agencies are making a significant impact for good in our culture. And lastly, eighthly, support organizations like the Coalition for the Defense of Human Life that's running this rally tonight, and its affiliates that are attempting to address this issue in the public forum. In conclusion, we can win with God's help. We can change our culture with God's help. Jesus, our example, sent out a dozen imperfect followers, and with God's blessing, they changed the world in a generation. We could do the same thing. This parliament behind us is not going to bring about change in the near future. It's up to you and me, dear friends. We are the ones who must change the culture in this state. And if we don't do it, then nobody will. It's just that simple. In a few moments, each one of us will be encouraged to make a pledge along these lines. May God bless you richly, all of you. Thank you.